Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel and the podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down the March 31st two-game 50K to first. Very surprising, actually. 50K to first LPL, just the China League tonight. South Korea, the LCK. For the League of Legends will return later in the week, really just the next day. But two-game slate here starting at 5 a.m. in the morning. So depending on when you're watching this, be sure to get your lineups in. We already have the starters, so you don't have to worry about late scratches. 99.9% sure on that one, as we get the starters very early, thankfully in the LPL. 5 a.m. start on the East Coast once again. So be sure, depending on when you're watching this, to make sure that you're just checking for that. Appreciate you all being here. My name is Sal Vetri. If you're brand new, I do cover daily fantasy sports, sports betting to an extent, in just a variety of different sports, and now just heading into the esports space over these past 3 weeks or so as the sports apocalypse has taken over the physical real-life sports. But it's been a ton of fun. Very profitable. Now you're starting to see at least the last, I would say this week, as opposed to the first 10 days, this past week or so, has been more of changing your strategy as more people begin to play optimally. It means ownership starts to rise on the optimal plays, which means they're not optimal or as optimal in large field GPPs anymore. So broke down this slate in depth in taking into account a lot of those factors, more of a strategy type of podcast over on Patreon. I have projections on Patreon. I have a Counter-Strike, Geo models and projections now over on Patreon. I have Rocket League, all this stuff, the NBA Sims, the NFL Sims stuff, projections for that. So if you're interested in all of that, April 1st, the first of the month is coming. So if you're interested, I would recommend just signing up. And if you're going to be signing up on the 31st, that day is totally free. If you're interested, if you sign up on the 31st, I'll refund that March payment of obviously that day in the month of March once your April payment hits. So 31st is totally free if you are interested in signing up and are planning on staying in for April as well. So without that, let's hit the subscribe button. We're now less than, I believe we're around 130 subscribers away from 20,000. So if we can get below 100 or close to it to start the following day and the coming days, I believe we'll probably get there by the end of the week. So thank you all so much. Podcast version, please. How those ears doing? If you hit the subscribe button, helps us continue to trend. So with that said, this slate is very straightforward because there's only two teams. Normally on two-game slates, 4-3 stacks are the way to go. You can maybe eke one out with a 4-2-1. If you indeed get a player from a losing team, that it doesn't matter. Maybe the losing team's team position actually does well, goes a full 3 rounds. Maybe they end up scoring well. We've seen it happen before. But for the most part, you want to focus on 4-3 stacking. Now, the huge favorites, and there's some pretty decent-sized favorites out of the two teams. You have Invictus Gaming as a minus 435 favorite. I expect them, based on being that big of a favorite, based on the type of players that they have for their top and their support spots, players that can actually have a huge upside. You see the Shy, their top player on the screen now. I think they'll be the most popular stack. I'm not sure if they'll be my most popular stack, but they're probably going to be one of my two most popular stacks. EDG, Edward Gaming, is going to be the second highest favorite at minus 333. Now, the interesting part, they face LGD, who I imagine is going to pick up some ownership as the slighter underdog. But right now, starting at the top position, a mid laner, Fen is actually going to be drawing the start at top lane tonight. First start at top lane for Fen. I believe, at least from what my model was trying to pull from Fen in general, just first start in general this year, unless the name has changed. I tried to put the space in there and nothing popped up. So yeah, first start, what I've seen historically, just looking through the last 3 weeks and then looking back even further into some database stuff, when a player starts for a different team, it is not good, especially this late in the season, right? About a week or two until the playoffs start for the LPL side of things. It's not good in terms of that team having an upside to win. They're very, I would say, at a disadvantage, not so much as a rookie quarterback or a backup quarterback coming in to start in the NFL when your top laner fills in, but something like that in terms of just what the team chemistry is, obviously not having as much of an advantage. And when you take into account that they're not a huge favorite here, if this was a huge favorite, if Invictus Gaming had somebody filling in, I'd be worried, but they're minus 435 favorite. You're an underdog at plus 243, and now you have somebody filling in where you don't have that type of team chemistry, so I'm a little bit worried there. So for me personally, not really going to be getting to Fen, not going to be taking that risk. It makes me not get to as much of LGD because I already don't have that much confidence that they win as an underdog of plus 243, and now they're not really playing with too much of a team chemistry, and that has been shown historically from what I've seen to hurt teams in the LPL, especially teams that are not huge favorites and have the skill gap to kind of beat the team and really overcome it. As an underdog, they're probably not going to have that. So the Shy they're going to be my two biggest owned, two most owned, and probably the only two owned top players that I get to. I do think that the Shy is very much in play. I think both of these captains, or both of these top laners from the favorites are very much in play for your captain spot tonight, believe it or not, based on the way that lineup construction will go. If it allows you to leave a couple $100s on the table, I think it looks good, but even just pure projection-wise, I think it looks good. For your mid laners now, so just looking at some of these mid laners, yeah, Rookie's going to stand out. Rookie will probably gain a ton of ownership, just a player who is getting a ton of kills. Most kills, most assists on the slate. Invictus Gaming, huge favorite. You end up probably getting a lot there. Highest damage rate. I think Rookie looks fine. Rookie, Scout, and actually Icon. So I'm going to get to a decent amount of OMG. I think they'll probably come in. I was running a ton of lineups. I ran like 300 or 400 lineups to try and get an idea of ownership, put in some basic rules that I think most people will use, 4-3 stacks, right? Maybe 1 or 2 uniques. People won't really change up groups and all that much as often. No really max salary. Try and get an idea of ownership in some of these optimizers. I think that you're probably going to see OMG in like the single digits, maybe like 6% is where I was starting to get it. I think I feel okay getting a little bit above that, not too much. So I think these favorites are by far the best advantages to kind of take down the slate and combining them, which for the most part has been the case, but you're not seeing that over the past week. So I do actually advocate for getting a little bit different as people play more optimal over this next week. But on this specific slate, OMG would be the spot to get different, but it's really just getting different with the two favorites, leaving $900,000 on the table if you like the lineup that you have. Rookie and Scout stand out there. Probably not going to get too much of LGD across the board, to be honest with you. Southwind is probably not somebody who's going to get into a captain spot for me, but I'm not against it. Support player, not always great to put them in your captain spots. I much prefer the Shy on his team as that top laner. Normally, you're putting your AD carry or your mid laner, players who have a ton of upside in that captain spot. Tonight, it might be a little bit difficult depending on the price points, as we're about to see, of the AD carries, depending on how unique you want to get with your lineups. But Southwind, by far and away, the best support player on the slate, not only for tonight, but just in general. You're getting 10.1 assists per contest. Now you're getting Killua, who also has 9 assists per contest, but just doesn't generate a kill. In just 2 starts so far, getting the start today as well. Another reason why that I really don't like LGD all that much. They have somebody starting who's never started before at top laner. They have a player who's only started twice at support. That just breeds really bad upside coming for LGD today. So probably not going to get there at all. Doesn't generate kills in the 2 starts that you've seen so far, and a ton of assists, but again, small sample. So Southwind stands above the rest. I do think that you can get to Miko without a doubt there, just because of being a favorite. I think you can get to Cold as well if you want to try and get a little bit different with some of your OMG stacks. I also think that Cold, although not a player who produces a ton of fantasy points, it's just a price play at 4,800. It's a huge difference off of the 2 favorites, $1,000 off Southwind. $600 off Miko if it allows you to try and get into maybe the 280 carry spots into your one in a captain and one in the 80 carry spot. If just playing Cold does that, I think it opens you up to at least more upside in your overall lineup from that perspective. And then you just hope that it goes 3 rounds and you're not getting 29 points, but maybe you're getting somewhere in the mid 40s out of Cold, which again, probably not something that you're going to get all that often, but I'm not going to X out Cold from a player pool. And now the point that I think is really interesting. Hope and Puff, I have projections out. Again, you can see them linked down below. Again, the 31st and really today, if you're watching this on the 30th, if you sign up today and you stay through until April, I'll just refund whatever March was. So technically these next day and a half are going to be free if you stay on through April. So with that said, Hope and Puff, just a little peek behind the curtain, are my 2 highest projected players. It shouldn't surprise anybody. 80 carries are the highest projected players normally, and they're the only 2 favorites by a decent amount. They're also by far the 2 highest kill leaders on this slate. Puff, 5.8 kills per contest, 5.2 assists. Really hard to ignore Puff. And then 1.2 deaths per contest is what you're getting out of Hope. And then you're getting a ton of assists and kills, second most on the slate in both of those categories behind Puff. So these should be players that pretty much take up all of your ownership. I didn't really put too much rules into some things. I mentioned on the PATRON podcast, the in-depth version, a little bit more about where I'm heading tonight, but just going to have a lot of those players. Probably not going to have much of Kramer here. Smiles, I was getting some Smiles. I think I was getting like 5% to fill out the rest of my lineups, but I might just end up just going all Hope and Puff. I do think that you can play both of them. Rotate through one in your captain, one in your AD carry. You just have to be sure then to get different with your lineups, and that's what I was speaking on Cold earlier. You put that in the support spot. So although maybe you're taking a 10, 15, 20 point drop in your support spot from Southwind to going down to Cold, that's not great, but maybe now it opens you up to getting these 2 players who can both drop 100 points tonight in Hope and Puff, and one of them is in your captain spot, and you're not really too worried about that 20 points that you gave up because you just got an extra 50 in your lineup, right? So I do think there's some reason there to building different lineups in that regard, but they're going to be by far the 2 highest owned players. I wouldn't be shocked if Hope and Puff are both splitting somewhere between like 35% ownership numbers tonight in that 80 carry spot, maybe even higher. Getting over to Jungler, just the 2 favorites here. I'm not going to get Hacker. I think Hacker showed up in 1 lineup of the 300 that I crunched. Yeah, I'm not going to end up getting Hacker in that regard. Peanut for the same reason. I'm just really not getting to LGD, so it's just kind of a process thing. Now, Peanut is a very strong jungler. You're getting actually a lot of upside here. This would be like, so in terms of pulling out LGD from maybe full-on 4-man stacks, I think Peanut's the one spot that stands out the most that I actually like. Leads the slate in kill participation, or leads all the junglers in kill participation, damage percentage, kills is right there, tied pretty much with Leon from Invictus Gaming. You're getting a decent amount of assists. So Peanut is somebody that I don't think you automatically have to slash out of there, but again, just in terms of this team actually winning, I don't feel that confident in it. So I think I'll probably get to some shares of Peanut as maybe a one-off spot just because the salary is a little bit cheaper by $200, but $7,000 flat for both. Leon from Invictus Gaming. Leon is indeed starting over Nang today. And then also Junjia. So Junjia, these are two players that Leon has been good. 7 starts, just only 7 starts, but 4 kills per contest. You're getting good creep score. Junjia is going to be somebody who's more so involved in assists. You're getting no kills out of. So I really think Jungler is not that strong on this slate. Depending on where you go with your stacks, that's fine. Another reason why I think just getting Peanut into your lineups in some of them isn't a terrible idea. Not my first choice. It would be my third choice still, but not crossing out 150. If you're just playing 1 to 5 lineups like many of you probably are, Leon and Junjia are probably the spots to go. And then finally, for your team spots here, again, 435 favorite is Invictus Gaming. You're getting a 333 favorite for Edward Gaming. 243 underdog for LGD Gaming. They're starting a support player who's only played twice this year or 3 times this year. And a top laner who has not yet started this year. And then you have OMG Gaming, which I think is actually a decent underdog if you're going to pick between the one or the two of them. But when you factor in the fact that OMG doesn't produce a ton of kills, not as great. Though their opponent Invictus Gaming does die 17 times per contest. So Invictus Gaming, Edward Gaming, I think they're fine. Normally I will not be running my 4-man stacks with the team position in there. I'll exclude it. So I'll only say you can only have a captain with 3 other players and do not allow one of those players to be the team spot. On a 2-game slate, I'm okay because you're more so shooting for points upside. So Invictus Gaming and Edward Gaming, they look very close in projection for me tonight. But let's just say Invictus went for 53 points and Edward Gaming only went for 45. That 8-point difference is actually going to matter on this type of a slate, especially when they're so closely priced, to the point where I'm okay if it ends up being I have a captain, I have a, let's just say an AD carry, a captain, a top laner, and then the team falls into there. It's not ideal on bigger slates, but when points upside is all that matters, and only 2 teams are going to win tonight, and probably those will be the 2 highest scoring team slots, I'm okay allowing my team slot to get into 4-man stacks on this specific slate, especially because it's just a smaller size slate. So that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do, let me know. Hit the subscribe button. Get down in the comments. Ask any questions you have. You can follow me on Twitter at SalVetryDFS. And if you want to take advantage for everything that's going on Patreon, Counter-Strike Gaming, I finished the projections today for those. They're officially going to be running out tomorrow for the noon 4-game slate over there, 10K to first. Rocket League database, when that comes back on the weekend, going to have as well every single day the NFL and NBA Sims, as well as all of these slates right now for the League of Legends projections, player pools, models, and then some of these one-off podcasts that only go a little bit in-depth and other slates that get covered over on Patreon only. Again, you can sign up today, whether you're watching this on March 30th or the 31st. Those 2 days will be free if you stay through till April. I'll just return the 2 days as a credit and get them right back to you in full. So thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. Hit the subscribe button before you go. Let's get to less than 100 by the next time I tune into another one of these videos. Appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed that video. Above my head, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, I do ask you if you can please hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a good amount to reach more people. You can also follow me on Twitter. That's over there. Right in the corner is my @SalVetryDFS Twitter. And then above, you'll find my Patreon link. You can click on that if you want more exclusive content for me. Or a video is going to pop up, so why don't you check that one out as well. I think it's going to be beneficial for you. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.